Hey, what's up? This is Harry Wagner from Harry's Situations. We're finally going to determine what is the best Jeep of all time, the LJ or the JL. So two of the most popular Jeeps of all time are the Wrangler Unlimited, the current version, the JL, and then the original Wrangler Unlimited, the TJ Unlimited, aka the LJ. So both of these Jeeps, what makes them great? They've got a longer wheelbase than a traditional Wrangler, a YJ, a TJ, even earlier CJs that were real short. That added wheelbase adds stability, it makes for a smoother ride, it allows you to climb steeper obstacles. But there's a lot of differences between these Jeeps too. They're about 14 years apart. This one's near new. The one behind me is a 2006, the last of the TJ lineup. So that Jeep has a 4-liter engine, it's got a 4-speed transmission, where this Jeep came with a V6 that makes 100 more horsepower, and it's got an 8-speed transmission behind it. Those are just a few of the differences we're going to talk about in this video. So in the discussion about which is the best Wrangler, there's a lot of Wrangler models out there. The first one started in 1987. That was the Jeep YJ. Not great. They had carbureted engines with a bunch of smog equipment on them. They had Dana 35 rear axles, MP231 transfer cases. In some of them, that's the good transfer case. Peugeot transmissions. There were a lot of bad things about the YJ. The YJ begat the TJ. So biggest changes there are way more modern interior, and all the leaf springs were gone, and instead there were coil springs at all 4 corners. So the TJ was the first real big seller for Jeep in the Wrangler market. So this is my personal Jeep. It's a 2006 Jeep Wrangler LJ for long Jeep. Technically the name is a TJ Unlimited. It shares a lot of the same underpinnings with a TJ, but it's got 10-inch longer wheelbase, gives you more interior room, it climbs better, it rides better on the road. They made the LJ from 2003 to 2006. Mine's a Rubicon, which they started making in 2004, so pretty rare. And the Rubicon model shares the same things with the TJ Rubicon. Dana 44 axles that have lockers in them, a 4-to-1 transfer case, a 4-liter engine. It's got a 42 RLE transmission from the factory. Spoiler, that is my least favorite part of this vehicle. I wish it had a manual transmission or an AW4 like a Cherokee would have that are made by Aisin. My favorite features about this Jeep are, I would say, the TerraFlex belly up skid plate. Provides a ton of ground clearance underneath, great breakover angle. And if you've noticed something a little weird about this Jeep, it's got 37-inch Nitto trail grapplers on it, but it only has 2-inch lift springs. And the way I was able to do that is that this actually has an AEV Highline kit. American Expedition Vehicles makes this kit that moves the fenders up 3 inches, and they have a hood that matches. And so you're able to run a low lift height, but with a bigger tire. And it works great on the road, where the handling is wonderful. It works great off-road because you have a lower center of gravity. It does scrape. The departure angle is not great. And on this Jeep, it's made worse by a 31.5-gallon GenRight fuel tank. While I gave up departure angle, the fuel tank has a bomb-proof skid plate on it, and it gives me a ton of range off-road. So it's definitely a compromise I'm willing to make. So while an LJ is bigger than a TJ, it's still a very small, nimble Jeep compared to something like a JK or a JL. Visibility is great. This Jeep only weighs 4,600 pounds, which is pretty good, I think, for a full-body vehicle on 37-inch tall tires. It's able to maneuver through a trail like the Rubicon very easily. Because they don't make those fenders anymore, I want to keep them straight, so I definitely am using spotters and taking my time on the trail. The vehicle fits well on a trail like the Rubicon, where there's a lot of tight confines between the trees and the rocks that we're encountering all day long. So one of the biggest things I noticed between the LJ and the JL is electronics. This Jeep, I mean, it has a fuel-injected 4-liter engine, no distributor, it's got coil packs, but it's pretty simple. You look at the dash, you look at the interior, and you can tell it's from 2006. It's fairly bare bones. On the trail, this thing is great, super simple. Having less electronics isn't a detriment. But on the road, when you've got the adaptive cruise control on and you've got your touch screen there so you can turn on your satellite radio, the JL is the clear winner. All right, so while the YJ to the TJ was a big change, an equally big change was in 2007 when the TJ was replaced with the JK Wrangler. Everything is different on a JK. The frame is different, the suspension is different, the drivetrain is different, and for the first time, Jeep offered a 4-door Wrangler. The JK sold like hotcakes. The original engine, the 3.8 liter that was used through 2011, not a big fan, not great. But the 3.6 liter Pentastar engine has proved itself to be reliable and powerful. After the JK, in 2018, Jeep came out with the JL. That's the newest Wrangler. Knowing they had a good thing, there's not a huge difference between the JL and the JK. Jeep's not dumb. They've kept all the good things about the Wrangler. The top comes off, it has solid axles, it's got coil springs. You can get it in a Rubicon with locking differentials and a 4-to-1 T-case. So all of those things came in Rocco 4x4's JL here that's behind me. The biggest difference between a JK and a JL, in my opinion, is the 8-speed automatic transmission. It's a game changer. It keeps the Pentastar engine in the power band at any speed. They're quiet and comfortable. They used a lot of aluminum in the new Jeep in order to meet fuel economy standards, but that's good for us too because it weighs about 700 pounds less. And you notice that difference on the trail. Because the only thing we do when we modify a Jeep is basically add weight. This has 40-inch Nitto trail grapplers on it, and in order to live with those, they put Ultimate Crate Dana 60s in it. This Jeep weighs about 6,400 pounds compared to my LJ, which weighs 4,600 pounds, and you definitely notice that difference off-road. But on-road, surprisingly, with the extra horsepower and the 8-speed, this thing will smoke my LJ all day long. So in addition to the 8-speed, the JL comes with Dana 44 axles with locking differentials when you get the Rubicon model. A 4-to-1 transfer case. It also has a disconnecting sway bar, something that was never offered on the TJ or the LJ. So the greatest thing about a Wrangler, whether it's a TJ, an LJ, a JK, a JL, is the aftermarket potential. And it just keeps getting better with every iteration of Jeep. This particular one has Ultimate Dana 60 crate axles. It's got box coilovers on it and JKS control arms. It's got a host of aftermarket armor from Poison Spider, a Warren winch on the front. All of these things are available for the JL. Even when it was brand new and first on the market, there were a ton of options. So Rocco 4x4 has equipped this thing with just about anything and everything you could ever want for the trail. The 8-speed automatic is great on the street, and it also has a really low first gear, which is useful on the trail as well. You need that to get all this weight moving. The biggest difference I noticed between the LJ and the JL on the trail are the dimensions. So this weighs almost 2,000 pounds more, it's considerably wider, longer, and that translates into things like worse breakover angles. You have less line options when you're trying to fit through a tight spot. But with 40-inch Nitto trail grapplers, this thing just goes over things I have to go around in my LJ. You've heard the specs, you've seen the footage, so now it should be obvious that the best Wrangler of all time is the Gotcha! Comment below and tell us which you think is the best Wrangler and why.